and welcome. Thank you so much for joining this presentation as we have a look at the global resumption of cruising along with Princess Cruises. So my name is David Craven. I'm one of the key account managers here. And I've got a very special guest, which I cannot wait to introduce you very, very shortly. But before we get there, I just wanted to talk about what this is all about. This is our Princess Partners Edgy series. So what we're doing over the coming months, we want to share some information about how cruising is looking elsewhere in the world. Now, I know that right now it feels like Groundhog Day. We've basically got daytime pajamas and nighttime pajamas. Some people are in lockdown and homeschooling and all those kind of things. And it seems like cruising will never actually happen again. But it will. I promise you, we're getting towards the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, before we talk about one very special destination, this morning we had one beautiful Sky Princess embarking on her very first cruise in well over a year from Southampton. And we've got a very special message for each and every one of you in Australia and New Zealand.
Hi, and welcome to Sky Princess to all of our Australia and New Zealand travel partners. My name's Tony Roberts and I am Vice President UK and Europe for Princess Cruises, and I'm coming to you from the retreat pool on Sky Princess. And we've got a beautiful day here in Southampton and we are welcoming our first guests on board as Sky Princess joins Regal Princess sailing from Southampton with guests. We've been away for almost 18 months now and it is just fantastic to be back. The crew are really excited to be welcoming guests back on board and they're giving their usual amazing warm welcome and service. The ship is looking absolutely fantastic and the guest experience is everything that you'd expect from Princess Cruises. And we really just can't wait to welcome all of our guests from all over the world back on board the Princess Cruises ship. We look forward to having you on board with us soon.
Very, very exciting, and something that I know we all can't wait to do is get on board a cruise ship and get back sailing. Now, we are actually joined with a very special guest who was lucky enough to be one of the very first guests sailing on board the Majestic Princess on her Alaskan cruise. So please welcome John Chernesky, who is our Senior Vice President in North America for Sales and Trade Marketing, and he's going to share his cruising experience on board the beautiful Majestic Princess. So thank you so much, John, for joining us. What time is it over in America right now?
It's just past 6 p.m. on Monday night, so we're a little bit behind you all. But yeah, it's not happy hour just yet for me. I promise I've not started my drinking, but as soon as we're done, I will.
Beautiful. Well, I will leave this now and hand over to you, but thank you so much for taking time out and sharing your amazing experience.
It's my pleasure, David. Thank you so much. And I want to say hello to everybody. Good morning to you all in Australia, New Zealand. It is my pleasure to be here and share some stories of my recent travels and a little bit about how things are progressing here in North America. I show this slide because it's just kind of a montage of all the travels that my family and I have done, which I'm going to talk about. And good morning to you, Anna. Thanks for chiming in. We're going to have some fun. We're going to zip through a lot of images and just trying to get you all excited because I know you're going through an even tougher time than we are here in North America, because unlike us here where we're actually getting back to travel, you are still waiting in the wings. And Gail, I know windy and stormy. I could do some storm because it's like 100 degrees here today in Los Angeles, and we could use some rain, I'll tell you what. So I'm going to dive in and just kind of walk through a little bit about my history first. Actually, here's an old picture. I've been with the company. I just passed my 29th anniversary with Princess, if you can believe it. And here's a picture of me in front of the old Island Princess in Ballantyne Pier in Vancouver, back when acid wash jeans and slick back hair was all the rage. But I've been with the company a long time in a variety of departments, and I've been in sales for about 6 years now. And it's such a pleasure to work not only in the travel business, but specifically for this family that I like to call Princess. So I want to just take a second and let's talk about, why do we take a cruise? Like, what's it all about? And I think there's a lot of great reasons. And I think there's historical, if you look back on the history of cruising and some of these iconic images, some funny, some serious, of the age of, crossing the transatlantic, and which you can still do, of course, on Cunard, but how cruising has evolved over the years. And then some fun. I like to poke fun sometimes at our industry. My favorite is, of course, the top right there saying, "Honey, pack your fat pants, we're going on a cruise." And having just come off a cruise, I think it's true, because I've never eaten so much in a 7-day period. But truly at Princess, what it's all about for us is really connection. And we go together with our family or our friends. We meet new people. We explore new destinations, and that's really what it's all about. And I am so lucky to have been around the world with my family, and the memories we've created on those trips is really what it's all about, and what we remember most when we think back on the year and what was the highlight of that year. It's usually a trip that we've done. I think back to the time we took my boys, it was actually their second cruise, back when they were actually young and cute. They just turned 15, so they're not as young and cute anymore. Over to Hawaii. We did the cruise out of Los Angeles, had a wonderful time there. And then we did a California coastal cruise, one up to San Francisco. Even though we live in California, it was so nice and convenient to go to San Diego, to go to San Francisco, trying to drop the boys off at Alcatraz prison, but they wouldn't accept them. And then Japan. We did a trip a few years ago. It was a business trip for me, and I dragged them along, and one of my absolute favorite places I've ever been. And as you can see there, we had quite an adventure. And then, of course, the Caribbean. We did the Christmas cruise in December of 2019 with my sister and her growing family, and just had a wonderful time. Yes, that is with me with a sloth there in the top right, but just all these trips we've done. And yes, I just want to say, please keep calm. I am spoiled. But it's really just about the memories that you create. And I know you're all just can't wait to get back and create your own memories. And so I just wanted to share that it is, thankfully, I would say here in North America, let's just say we're starting it back and getting traveling. And I really hope that it will happen soon for you. But more importantly now, one of the things I have been talking about here in North America over the past year, because it's been a hard time for all of us, is that, you actually, and this has been validated by some research studies that say you actually derive most of your happiness when you anticipate or look forward to a vacation trip, a cruise with Princess, than you do the trip itself. And there's a couple reasons for that. When you go on a trip, sometimes things happen. Your flight can be delayed, you lose luggage, it's rainy, or whatever it might be. When you're lying awake at night trying to fall asleep, and you're thinking about that trip that may be a year or even 2 years away, every time you start thinking about that trip, your body releases a little endorphin that makes you happy. And so the research studies that I have found online talk about how it's called a free happiness boost, that every time you think about that trip, you get a little bit of happiness. And I just want to say, I know you all need something to look forward to. And so I'm just here to encourage you to not give up hope on this industry. We know you'll be back at it soon, and try and get that trip booked for your clients so they have something they can look forward to. Here in North America, there is so much focus on the health and safety protocols as we return to service. And I will say these evolve rapidly. I mean, one day it's this, and next day it's changed. And so I think here in North America, we've done everything we can to communicate and be as clear as possible. But we know you, as the travel advisors down under, have work to do in terms of clarifying that for your clients. And just be flexible is my recommendation, and pack your patience once you get back to traveling, because you just never know what you're going to get when you get out there. But I just know that we are returning, and we've made this decision for cruises through the end of this year here in North America, that we are operating them as vaccinated cruises per our CDC. CDC is our version of your health ministry, I believe it's called. And so we are operating those as vaccinated cruises through the end of this year, which means the guests have to have that final dose of the vaccine at least 14 days prior. And so we'll see what 2022 brings and what those cruises requirements are. We don't know right now, but just know that the level of focus that we have on health and safety is, and we've always been at a very high operating standard. It's even greater now. And I want to share this website link, even though it's specific to North America. You can go and see to this website, princess.com/cruise health FAQ, all of the issues that we're addressing and how we're trying to clarify, and that this website becomes our place to refer people, because the rules can change overnight, and we want to make sure everybody is up to speed on them. But having been out there, I can tell you it's a pretty great and safe experience. And but let's talk about just traveling in general. And at Princess, we are known as a destination leader because we go to some amazing places. I think obviously you have to go to some great places, right, to focus on that and kind of take that claim. But I also believe it's how we deliver the destination when you're on board. It's all the programming and the things that we do to bring the destination onto the ship as soon as you step foot on it. No matter where you are in the world, you feel like you're in that destination. And for 2021 here in North America, and I don't mean to tease you with this because I know you can't do this right now, but I just want to clarify, we have returned sailing in Alaska. Where obviously you saw the video there from Tony. The British Isles have set sail as well. We've got California coast cruising out of Los Angeles and San Francisco coming up, Mexico, Hawaii, Panama Canal, Caribbean. So this is all coming for us as we move on into this year. But I want to spend a little bit of time talking about my favorite place, Alaska. And at Princess, we are known as the #1 cruise line in Alaska because we carry more people there than anybody else. We've won a bunch of awards here in North America, some accolades from Travel Weekly, which is a big travel trade press here, as well as an internal research study that is done of the travel agent community, which basically says, who do you recommend first to go to Alaska? And Princess has won that ranking about 19 years. So it's an internal survey. We don't publish it, but I just thought I'd share it with you. So we take great pride in that and those accolades, but it's really about delivering the onboard experience. So I'm going to share my story of having cruised to Alaska. We just set sail on July 25th, our first cruise, and I was on board with my family. And so we started in Seattle. It's a round trip Seattle inside passage. Beautiful sunny day. We were very lucky with weather. You can see Seattle in the background there, and just had great couple days in Seattle touring around. You can see the Space Needle there. It's iconic. So I recommend, if you're traveling, the next time you get to travel, spend a couple days pre or post trip to really experience that port. So then our first day, well, day 2 technically, was a day at sea. I was a little excited in the bottom left there. I may have had an adult beverage or two. My son John loves the pizza, and then just my beautiful family had got to dress up and go out to dinner. How great is that, right? And then we were in Juneau, Alaska, and we did this amazing trip, which actually I've been very fortunate to take some great shore excursions in my time. And this now is the #1 that we've ever done. It was so amazing. We took a helicopter out to the Mendenhall Glacier, 12 miles up the glacier. We put ice axes in our hands, harnesses, helmets on, crampons, these metal spikes on the bottom of our feet so we could walk on the ice. And then we were out doing what they call alpine mountaineering. And you can see the picture there and the color of the water. And for a couple of hours we did this, and it was just stunning. And we have a little video to show. It's a little windy, and so you hear some background noise, but just a video to show you of what it was like to be on the glacier. John Chernesky here. I'm on the beautiful Mendenhall Glacier. Just took a helicopter trip out here. We're so excited to be here. Beautiful day. So great to be back in Alaska. I just want to show this video here on the Mendenhall Glacier. Do a little spin around. You can see what I'm dealing with here. This is so cool. Wow. It really was a wow moment, and we were so fortunate. But we're in Juneau for quite a bit of time. So then that evening we went on a whale watching trip, and my wife said, I really don't care if we see a whale, John, but if we don't see orcas, killer whales, you're in trouble. And I don't think she understands. I don't control that. However, we got lucky because as soon as we got out into the harbor area, we saw some orcas, and then we saw some whales that were just frolicking around. And we actually saw this baby whale, who's later learns the name is Bolt. They've already named it. Was really jumping out of the water. And I want to show you a picture, true picture. This is not Photoshop. I took this picture with my great Canon lens, Canon camera, of Bolt fully flying out of the ocean. You don't see that very often. And I didn't even realize how good the picture was until later on when I checked it out. But that was also a wow moment. And then we were in Skagway, and we went over and did a rafting trip through an eagle sanctuary. We were trying to see both eagle and bears. We didn't see any bears, although the bears come up really close to the water, so maybe that was a good thing. But definitely saw plenty of eagles. Quite a stunning day. And then we were in Glacier Bay, and this is actually a view from our stateroom all the way at the forward end, looking out as we were pulling up into the very northern tip of Glacier Bay, and you can see Marjorie Glacier there on the left, and that's a shot that was taken. I didn't take this picture. A professional photographer did from the boat that was launched, and to show the Majestic Princess alongside Marjorie Glacier. Marjorie Glacier, little tip, is 250 feet high and about a mile wide. So it gives you some perspective there of just how big the glacier is. And then, of course, we actually spent the whole day in Glacier Bay on our balcony because it was just perfect day, perfect weather, and we had such a great vantage point from our balcony. It was, thank you, Kathy, it was a wow moment and such a beautiful day. I can't get enough of showing this glacier off. And just a wonderful day. Park ranger was on board, of course, and got to hear his talk, and just loved every second of it. Then we were in Ketchikan, and if you've never been to Ketchikan, you go, I highly recommend you do the lumberjack tour because you get to see these lumberjacks put on this amazing exhibition of their skills. But beforehand, we also did a tour where you get to learn how to throw an axe, and I thought it was pretty easy, and I want to show you a video of just how great I was at throwing the axe.
Oh, all right.
Are you going for the window?
Yeah, you could hear my wife mocking me. And what's really crazy is that we did this contest at the end where my wife and I and my two boys got to throw 4 throws of the axe to see who was the best at it. My wife hit 3 bullseyes and one just out of the bullseye. And the lumberjack was with us said, I couldn't do that. So I'm going to be much nicer to my wife than I ever have been because she's clearly good with sharp instruments. Then we did a amazing zip line tour through the canopy of this beautiful forest, and there's eagles flying around. There was this salmon hatchery nearby, and we could see all this activity. The bears weren't out because it was really hot that day, and so they were staying cool deeper in the forest. But at this place, they had this raptor center where they help these birds recover, and so we got to stand a few feet away from this amazing bald eagle. That was not expected as part of our tour, but just had a wonderful time. And then we were at sea. And so on the left there, you can see the view of the skywalk in between, about 160 feet above the ocean, just quite a stunning view. And on the right, I may have eaten too much food. There's a wonderful server with a chili dog and a lobster roll and some French fries. So I definitely did my fair share of eating. And then I may or may not have had this beautiful Vesper martini, great combination of gin and vodka and a aromatic wine, and just looking at the ocean from the lobby bar area as we were sailing around in the afternoon. I started drinking early that day. So listen, that was our trip, and clearly when you're there in Alaska and we are allowing people to explore on their own, follow the local health guidelines that are there, wear your mask if you're going into a store. And so it just had such a wonderful time. Now, I want to say we have here in North America had a number of travel advisors that we've invited to sail with us on the Majestic in Alaska. And don't just take my word for how great the trip was. I want to show some testimonials from some of the advisors who were able to join us. Everything from news broadcasts were done, talking about you can see the photos there in the middle, the wine with the glacier in the background. How cool is that? Then you got you got to have a good barista, got to have a good coffee, and just some of the great testimonials there. And of course, some chocolate dip strawberries, that view of the sea walk you can see there, and our naturalist on board, Michael Mazalewski, who's such a great storyteller. And that's what we really try and do is provide that full experience once you're on board. Now, I know you can't cruise Alaska with us this year, but I do hope you and your clients are planning to come back. And I think what separates Princess from the other brands is how we deliver Alaska, the full experience of Alaska, meaning a cruise tour. Now, I know David's done some training on this and most recently, but I just want to remind you that as great as our Alaska trip was, the only thing we could do this year is the Inside Passage round trip. We couldn't do a cruise tour. If you're going to go to Alaska, and for you, it's quite a bit of distance to travel to get there, highly recommend you book that cruise tour. And 2023 Alaska has just been on sale, so you have opportunities to book into that. I don't know, I'm greedy and maybe I'm a little biased, but I would recommend you book something in 22 and hope that happens, but also book something in 23 because now's your chance to get that preferred sailing date, preferred cabin. And we'll talk a little bit about it with David later, but it is booking very strong for 22 in particular. So I don't want you to feel left out if you're able to travel. So it'd be my recommendation. And at Princess, when you go to Alaska through the cruise tour, everybody's talking about the big five. These are the big five animals you get to see. You've got the caribou, the bear, the wolf, the gray wolf, and you've got the Dall's sheep. Moose on the top left, caribou on the bottom right. So you got these five, but at Princess, we have our own big five, which is our wilderness lodges. These are 5 owned and operated lodges by Princess, all situated next to a beautiful river that really give you an experience that the cruise itself can't give you, because once you go into the interior of Alaska, it is you feel like you're on a different planet. At least that's my perception of it, and that's my experience of it. And the way we bring you there, which David no doubt talked about, is our exclusive Direct to the Wilderness. You walk off the ship, go onto this amazing train that we own. We keep it in beautiful condition, the big glass domes and the narration and the bar cars open and all the things you get to do on that journey up to the wilderness lodges same day you were there. And it is actually the train transfer I often hear is one of the highlights of the trip. And I've done that train trip a couple times and I can attest to that. And then I also want to say there's so much activity to do once you get to Alaska. And I know my recommendation, as I like to say, is when you talk to your clients about booking Alaska or any destination, is get your shore excursions planned as far in advance as possible. It's nothing worse than a couple walking down the gangway in Juneau saying, honey, what are we going to do today? I think you've just missed out on planning and maximizing all you can do. But another question I get often is, what time should I go to Alaska? And I have been there over the years for work trips and personal trips in pretty much every month you see here, and you just never know what you're going to get. May and June tend to be less rainy. Obviously, the later in the season, August, September, you can see some of the leaves change. Peak sunlight, June and July. Northern lights, no guarantees clearly, but maybe in September. Usually have to be pretty far up on the latitude scale to get to see the northern lights, but you just never know. The whales are out all the time, but July is definitely peak. The bears are a little more active in May, June, because they're just coming out of hibernation and they're hungry. And then fishing, of course, is very popular. And then pricing, May and September tend to be a little bit more where you can find some deals. But it's just a helpful tip. And now, on the spirit of you never know what you're going to get, so I'm saying that the northern lights maybe in September. I want to show this picture taken by the captain, Captain Bye Bye, as he's called, Captain Tuvo. He was on the bridge of the Star Princess a few years ago. They were leaving Ketchikan, which is the most southern port on the Inside Passage you can visit, at midnight. He saw the northern lights from all the way down south in May, and woke up the ship to say, hey, I don't mean to alarm you, but if you want to see the northern lights, grab a blanket and a jacket or whatever and come on out to the outer deck. And that's the adventure of going on any cruise, but especially to Alaska. And so with that, I want to talk briefly about Medallion class, because this is a new technology, and I want to make sure it's clear that Medallion, this is the Medallion, so I'm holding it. It's like a quarter size device that everybody gets, okay? And it's personalized with your name, the ship, and the date. This becomes your cruise card. And I would say it has changed cruising, especially at Princess, because we're the only ones with it. And I wanted to share the quote from John Padgett, who is our Chief Experience and Innovation Officer. He's the brains behind this. And what he says is, it's kind of the why behind Medallion class. What's it for? Why are we doing this? Vacations are the ideal space to optimize our time, our scarcest resource. Every minute you wait in a line or are otherwise inconvenienced is a minute you can't enjoy elsewhere. Given that many of us spend months planning for vacations, we want the best experience imaginable. And that's really what Medallion class, to me, is all about, is giving you more time back through the technology, which introduces all these efficiencies that you just have to experience it to believe it. But trust me when I say it is a game changer. Now, there's 6 main fundamental features of Medallion class. And don't worry about memorizing this slide. I want to walk you through, because I'm a bit of a skeptic, I'll be honest with you. If somebody says, oh, this is great, I don't believe it until I've experienced it. And so I did a video series a couple years ago when we had first launched Medallion class, and I want to put it to the test. So I took my trusty bobblehead, and yes, I do have a bobblehead, because why not? It was ridiculous. And I also have a puppet. If you can see behind me, I do have a puppet, but he was overserved last night, so he's sleeping it off. But I took my trusty bobblehead, and we went out on the Chernesky Challenge. We sailed on the Caribbean Princess, and we got to experience what Medallion class was about. And so we promise and say, oh, it's truly touchless embarkation, that it's a really seamless experience. Was it really? Yeah, I had my Medallion. I got into the terminal, showed my passport. Next thing you know, I'm going, as we call it, from curbside to poolside in a breeze. Within a matter of minutes, I'm sipping an adult beverage by the pool. And we had this testimony from one of our agencies that traveled with us. They said, just got back from the Regal Princess, and I swear we walked in and we're through everything in 5 to 7 minutes. And near and dear to my heart, they then had lunch at Alfredo's within a matter of minutes of getting on the ship. And so I know we can't mail the medallions to you down under just yet, but trust me, it doesn't matter. Once you get to the terminal, pick it up and off you go. It's as seamless. And then you get to your stateroom door and it recognizes you. And I have to say, when I first heard about this, I thought, how hard is it to open your cabin door? Trust me, once you've done it once, you can never go back. First of all, you feel like a king or a queen entering your castle, that my door knows I'm here. Oh, it's greeting me with a happy birthday? Like, how cool is this? And it also, you always have something in your hands, and it just makes it easier because the door unlocks. You can just use your elbow to unlock or to open the door. Why this woman has, 17 donuts and 2 cups of coffee, and why the husband isn't doing this, I don't know. I mean, I think they got some issues in that relationship. But I just want to highlight a testimony that came in from a travel advisor, said no more fumbling with the cruise cards while trying to open that door. And their neighbor always brought coffee to his wife each morning. And he commented that it was a magic door. It was a lifesaver because he had 2 cups of coffee. So that gentleman got it right, and he got his wife a cup of coffee. You can also find your way around the ship. So you can use your phone when you're on board and can just connect from the internet if you don't have that package. And you can just use the ship's free Wi-Fi. Use your phone as much as you want. But if you don't want to use your phone when you're on board, that's totally fine. You can actually access these public portal screens that are all over the ship, about 100 of them on every ship. Find your way around the ship because people tend to get lost. Or you can ask a crew member, hey, how do I get to the so-and-so? And they will direct you. So that is a cool feature. And we also have ADA guidelines, which is for people that have access restriction issues that they need a little help. We can provide that as well. And then you can actually find people in your travel party. Where are my kids? I can always know where my kids are. Where's my wife? She'll be finding me. Whatever it is, that you never have to feel where am I missing out, or are my kids where they said they were going to be. Free games. So if you want to just play some free games, you can. You can also gamble in the casino without stepping foot in the casino, which is pretty cool. And then I definitely say, the testimony here is that, oh, it's the best Wi-Fi at sea. Trust me, it is blazing fast. So we're also used to having Wi-Fi to connect off the ship to the internet. I actually had a romantic dinner with my wife a couple cruises ago, and I told her that I got a very urgent message from our president. I had to check a spreadsheet at dinner. Unfortunately, I was actually streaming a college football bowl game. Now, to put it in perspective, because you may not understand American college football, imagine the cricket was on. And you had to watch it. And I know cricket's a really fast game. It's over in just a couple minutes. I'm kidding, of course. But it's that fast. And I clearly don't recommend you watch sports at the dinner table. That was a setup, but it just gives you an idea of how fast it is. And this is actually a picture of one of our salespeople here in North America. Went over to the Sky Princess a couple years ago, brought her daughter, Sarah, who still was in high school and had to take an exam. And she did it from the balcony of her ship connected through the Wi-Fi. And then I think one of the coolest features is what we call Ocean Now, which is wherever you are, you're sitting on the promenade deck and you want something delivered to you. It could be food, it could be drink, it could be something to your stateroom. We will bring it to you, and it's just that convenience that you never have to be waiting in line or to get out of that comfortable chair or to even to leave your cabin. I was actually served a Bahama Mama, which I would highly recommend. It's a very flavorful drink. On my stateroom balcony. I looked surprised because I forgot I had ordered it, but I did, and it was lovely. So they brought it right to my stateroom balcony. And then Christine, this is a great testimony from the head of marketing from one of our agencies here, that they went on and they were blown away. Best cruise they had ever taken, best family vacation, and the Medallion class exceeded their expectations. And during the past year and a half, we have been working to make it even better. And so one of the features that we're offering now is what we call Dine My Way, which allows you to make reservations using the Medallion class app for your trip. And what's great about this is the flexibility of it. And we experienced this firsthand on the Majestic, because not only do you get to decide when you dine, how you want to dine. You can actually say, I want to dine at a leisurely pace, or I'm in a hurry because I have to go to the show. Obviously, select who you want to dine with. You can add friends to your travel party and make reservations for everybody. The restaurants, the main dining rooms, as well as specialty dining rooms, and the flexibility of it, which I think is the greatest thing. I was actually off the ship in Skagway and changed our reservation using my phone because I knew we were running a little late. And so it gives you that flexibility. And if you don't want to make a bunch of reservations and before your trip, if you're not a planner, that's totally fine. You can do it on board, or you can even ask a crew member, hey, can you make the reservation for me? Don't feel compelled that you have to make all of your reservations. But here's kind of a highlight slide for all the features that it has for both main dining room, specialty dining. We could say where you want your table to be located. I talked about the dining pace, add friends. You can get, that if you have a dining credit for specialty dining, it's already in your profile. And of course, I talked about, ordering the drinks. And then, so when I talk about Medallion class, then people say, okay, well, does it work, John? Okay, it sounds great. You had a good experience with it, but what does it really mean at the end of the day? And I would say two things. One, it's nice that we've won some awards here in North America, that people think it's the best onboard technology. But most importantly is, what does the average guest think of it? And our Net Promoter Score, which is the ultimate measure of how we validate whether we're doing a good job or a bad job, which is a way of saying, would you recommend this product or service to your friends or family? Our Net Promoter Score, pre-Medallion versus post-Medallion, has gone up double digit. And that's the ultimate measure of the success of any business. And people really have attached themselves to it. And so we're very thrilled that all of the ships in the Princess fleet, when they come back online, will be Medallion class enabled. And so it's just that great consistency across our brand that you don't have to worry about, well, does this ship have it, or does they all have it? And so we're super excited that we have that ability. Now, I want to mention that you all have Princess Plus as a way to book the cruise. And it's such a great value. And here in North America, we talk about it all the time. And I know you have to make that decision along with your client. And what I like to say is, and I recommend this, honestly, to my friends and family when they sail, because of the value. And so as an example, in the pricing and how this works, if you were to walk on the ship and then just buy the premier beverage package along with the Wi-Fi, it would cost each person $103 per person. Whereas if you buy it through Princess Plus, it's only $40. So it's almost a 60% savings. And so these are the most popular things that people want. They want some drinks and they want some Wi-Fi. And there you have it in Princess Plus. So I just want to make a plug for that. And I also want to just ask you all, time is valuable, as we learned. It's the most precious resource we have. And you have access to Ask Isaac. Isaac, of course, being famous bartender from the original Love Boat series. And it's the online chat tool that allows you to get those questions answered without having to call in. So I just want to put a plug in for that because I know that's important. So you can be as efficient as possible. I think the power of travel, I wanted to talk about this briefly as I wrap up my presentation. I think life is a book that we're all writing, whether we realize it or not. And each chapter, let's call every year a chapter, is that chapter going to be filled with great stories of travel, or you get kind of sucked into the routine of work? And unfortunately, right now, you're not able to, but I have a good feeling that once the restrictions are lifted and you're able to travel, we are going to see the most traveled continents in countries between Australia and New Zealand, and you getting out there. I cannot wait to see it and encounter some of you on board. I have been so lucky, obviously, with my recent trip, some highlights here of Alaska, but I cannot wait for you all to get back out there and travel again, because it is such a great way to grow and with your kids and, see the world through other people's eyes. I think a lot of the world's problems will be solved if we all traveled a lot more. So my only question is, where are you going next? Where do you want to get that booking in and hopefully have that trip to look forward to and really derive some happiness thinking about your future in travel? And with that, I want to say on behalf of the 25,000 men and women that work on our ships, because it really is all about them and the work they do on the ships, I want to say thank you for your support of Princess, your interest in Princess, and we cannot wait to welcome you back on board a ship very soon. And with that, I'll bring David back in if he's still with us, or maybe he's left. He's probably just left. And see if there's any questions.
I was absolutely gripped, and I was lucky enough to work on board the Island Princess and spent a season in Alaska, and just seeing those pictures, it definitely reignites that wanderlust. I'm desperate to get back out there. What would you say are the 3 must-do things in Alaska? It's a huge location, but those things that you just can't miss. What would you say the top 3 things?
Oh, that's such a great question. And the many trips that I've done to Alaska, I feel like some of them I've done again. Like I've done whale watching several times, and I never get tired of that. I think you can do helicopter tours in different places, not just Juneau. But I do think I have to go back to the cruise tour, David. I would say you all travel a long way to get to Alaska, and take the extra time to go into the interior to see Denali, which is the highest mountain in North America. It's stunning. So I would say cruise tour. I would say try and get on a glacier, whether you do a helicopter trip or just do a bus trip and walk on the glacier. There's something about walking on ice that is living, like it's moving, it's growing, it's retracting. Yeah. So I think that is cool. And then try some of the great local food. I mean, I'm sure in your time, some of the great food you try, the king crab, the halibut, the salmon. I would just say that.
Reindeer chili. It's delicious. I definitely enjoyed that. But while we've got you, I just wanted to see if anybody's got any questions. So it's a great opportunity to learn more, or maybe ask about the experience on board. But I know since you've been on board, we've already made a couple of changes. I believe. I think a mask's now mandatory on board. Is that correct?
Yeah. So here in North America, on the cruises we're doing in Alaska and about to do out of Los Angeles and San Francisco through the end of October. So, one of the, and I'll give you a little bit of backstory about what we've done and why. So even though we're operating these as vaccinated cruises for both guests and crew, we are trying to do everything we can to avoid spreading it further or to avoid being part of the problem. We want to try and be as safe as possible. And so we've introduced pre-cruise testing requirements. So that means you have to get a test within 3 days prior to arrival on board to validate that you don't have it, because we know with the Delta variant, you can be vaccinated and still carry it and transmit it much easier than you could the original strain. So that's the reason behind that. So we've done that pre-cruise testing. And then once on board, we ask people wear masks at certain locations. So it could be, not in your stateroom, don't worry about that, but you could be in the elevator, or let's say you're in the theater, or you're walking into the dining room. Then once you sit down, you can take it off. All of our crew wear masks all the time. So even when I was on board, when we didn't have the requirements that we're talking about now, the crew wore their masks all the time. And so we've just put these extra precautions in place out of an abundance of caution, let's say, just to make sure that we're doing everything we can. But that's only through the end of October right now. We'll see if that gets extended, and who knows what the future will bring.
Perfect. And what we know here in Australia and New Zealand, the pent-up demand for cruising is at an all-time high. What's the booking trend like in North America at the moment? We have been relaying to our travel agents saying, look, we don't want to miss out. We want to make sure that we're locking in that cruise further down the line, because all of our brother and sisters in North America, they're booking right now. So can you give us any guidelines on any booking trends at the moment?
Yeah, and it's very true what you say about the demand, the pent-up demand, not only in Australia and New Zealand, where you guys have a real reason to have pent-up demand because you haven't been able to travel anywhere. Here in North America, we have the same thing, and U.S. and Canadian guests are so interested in travel. Our pacing for 2022 is really, really good, meaning I would not wait. I tell people all the time, don't wait and think, oh, I'll get that great deal as I get closer in. There's always going to be deals here or there, but if you want to do it right and get the right timing, the right voyage that you want to be on, the cabin that you want, do not wait, because we are seeing unprecedented demand. And even into 2023, where we've opened up all of our sailings now, it's off the charts. Like, it is, people are really trying to, I've heard a term which it doesn't make sense to me so much, but it's called revenge travel. People are getting back at, I wasn't able to travel, so I'm going to get back out and I'm going to make even more trips and even spend even more money because you haven't spent any money. And that is true. We are seeing that for sure.
Definitely. Well, it looks like we haven't got any questions come through for you, but so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you so much to share your experience on board the Majestic and share all the beautiful pictures, and that picture of that whale leaping. I've never seen anything like that. That's just
I was very lucky. I was very lucky. Amazing. My pleasure to be here, David. Thank you for having me. I hope this was interesting and that I can inspire some of you to not give up hope, get your trips booked, have that great trip to look forward to and derive a little bit of happiness, and cannot wait to welcome you all on our ships very soon.
Could not have said it better myself. So with that, thank you so much, John, and thank you all for watching this presentation. If you need anything, we're always at the end of a phone call or an email. But thank you again, John, and all the best. Happy traveling.
Take care. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.